This is a presentation I did a while back at Foothill called Milkshakes, Tailgates, and Global Warming. This is a milkshake. Any problems if your mom gives this to you and your little brother to share? Of course there are. This is a tailgate. So if you were, have you been at a tailgate like this? And if you had an empty beer cup, what would you do? How are these two things similar? Well, in both cases, consumption is rival. You drink more milkshake, or your brother drinks more milkshake, less for you, and vice versa. Your friend drops a cup, and the field is less clean for everyone. So in that sense, the cleanliness of the field is rival. It's also non-excludable. So if you're sharing that single cup, it's hard to stop your brother from drinking when he's got it in his hands. And it's kind of hard to stop people from littering on the grass. These are the classic characteristics of a tragedy of the commons: rival consumption and non-excludable consumption. So how do you solve the milkshake problem? I think you can figure this one out. We don't need a government agency to get involved here. Yeah, split it up. Put it into 2 milkshakes, and then you have effectively created excludability, and you can then consume the milkshake at the optimal speed without having to worry about your brother. The tailgate problem, a little more complicated. We could try for cooperation, just ask people, please don't litter. You could have a bigger government policing presence, or you could lower the cost of compliance. So this picture shows lots of garbage cans, trying to make it easier for people to do the right thing. Keep that one in mind. Of course, with the tailgate, what we really do is we basically ignore it and we clean up later. And it's not that hard to make the users pay. So in increasing order of preference, according to me, you could have just general taxpayers pay to clean the fields. You could put it in school fees if it's a school event. If it's a game, like a football game, you could embed it in the ticket price. Or, of course, maybe the best of all, you could have a fee for using the field, which has a cleaning deposit come with it. And if the field is indeed messy, you use those funds to clean the field, so you get pretty close to the user paying for the costs. So in fact, again, it's a fairly trivial problem that we can easily correct after the fact. Of course, you know where this is going. A cool climate is also a tragedy of the commons. It's rival in consumption. So when a cow burps, he or she is burping and emitting greenhouse gases for all of us, right? It's a classic negative externality. So you've seen this graph before. The marginal social cost curve is what we'd like society to abide by. But in fact, we abide by the marginal private cost curve. We don't include the external costs of our behaviors. And so we get the inefficient QE outcome, where we would like to go to the QO outcome to the left. So emitting greenhouse gases is non-excludable. It's hard to stop people from polluting, emitting gases. This cartoon actually is making a cartoon about a different tragedy of the commons, which is traffic. But if you think about that, it's a similar dynamic. Unfortunately, unlike tailgates, no one's cleaning up after yesterday's party. So the tailgate, we can, in fact, clean up on Sunday for Saturday's tailgate. But when it comes to global warming, the parties just keep on adding up. There's more and more greenhouse gases being emitted. The costs are uncertain, and in the future, although it's becoming very apparent that they are actually here today also, but it's always difficult for us humans to do anything about future uncertain costs. More people are joining the party. We have 7.5 billion people on this planet, and a couple billion in China and India are getting wealthy enough that they too want to start driving cars and flying on airplanes and eating meat and other carbon-consuming activities. So this party is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, some people are actually getting paid effectively to drop cups. So anyone in the oil industry, obviously, They're making money off the burning of carbon. And importantly, self-interest beats doing the right thing. So raise your hand if you are concerned about global warming. Okay. Yeah, I see lots of hands out there. Now, raise your hand if you flew on an airplane or ate a hamburger or a steak last year. Wait a second, I see lots of the same hands. So, of course, we are self-interested, and we act in our own self-interest, even if it is contributing to a global problem. So how do you modify behavior? Well, economists have kind of coalesced around the idea of taxing greenhouse gas emissions. So this would be effective because it would promote good behavior by all of us on the margin. So for example, if you put a tax on beef, which is a big greenhouse gas emitter, right? Then if that hamburger were not $8, but if it were $20, well, then we all might choose to eat more pasta and fewer hamburgers, right? If the airplane ride to Las Vegas were to double in value, I might not go this weekend to Las Vegas, right? I would start to modify my behavior because now the price is actually fully incorporating the damage to the environment, and so we would all, in our own self-interest, start making better decisions. Again, the big problem here is this self-interest problem. This is a picture from Brazil last year, 2018, when the truckers went on strike. Why? Because the government was threatening to lower the subsidy for their fuel. So they're not even paying the full costs, much less the environmental costs. It's getting subsidized. They were going to lower the subsidy, and the truckers shut down the country by blocking the roads. Canada does have a carbon tax, but it's not very popular. People don't like to pay these carbon taxes. So I have a couple of videos below this, which I'd like you to watch when we're done with this. And it just shows you, again, it just really shows you how people's self-interest can overrule doing the right thing. Having some problems going on here. Let's see, continue, cancel. Okay. Similarly with Sebastian Gorka, you'll see another video. So again, now the Republican Party doesn't like this because they don't like taxes, right? So one way around that is we take all these revenues we get from the greenhouse taxes, and then we return them evenly to all U.S. citizens. So every U.S. citizen would get a rebate from the government. So there's no new net taxes, right? And so that effectively eliminates the anti-tax argument because there are no new net taxes. It's nice because those that consume lots of greenhouse gases, like me, because I fly places, I have a big carbon footprint. Even though I'm environmentally conscious, I'm also self-interested. That's the problem. Well, I'll pay a lot more in greenhouse gas taxes than I'll get back from the government rebate. Those that are environmentally conscious, or those that have low incomes and aren't burning a lot of greenhouse gases, guess what? They're not going to pay as much in greenhouse gas taxes as they get back from the government. So it protects the poor, it protects the environmentally conscious in this way. So that's a nifty way out of this. And there's that fact. Now this is a statement that was signed by thousands and thousands of economists, including myself. I'm not going to read it right now, but maybe you want to pause at some point or go back and read this later. Of course, this is a difficult idea. The big changes are difficult, and there's a lot of resistance to it, particularly because there are special interests involved, right? We still have winners and losers. And so those industries, like the beef industry, who are going to face increasing costs, and therefore it'll downsize their industry, they're against it, right? And so we have to overcome this problem. It's hard to assess the appropriate size of the taxes, but that's okay. We know which direction we should be going at least, and so I think estimating it and moving in that direction is better than not doing anything. Of course, this is a global problem, so even if the U.S. did everything, it's still a problem, but that's no excuse to not do anything. I think we can lead by example here and show the path of an effective way forward. So hopefully we can get this through. We do elect our leaders. Progressives should like this because it fixes the problem. Conservatives, this should not be a political issue. Conservatives should like this because there are no net taxes and it uses markets to solve this problem. So I hope that we can make progress. It's very likely that we don't do anything. We can't get our act together. And in that case, the savior hopefully is going to be technology, right? Maybe we can clean up after the party. So there's a lot of research being done into so-called carbon capture technologies, where you can capture the carbon and shoot it back into the earth, or shoot it into space, do something with it, and so we can make up for lost time. Also, of course, we all see the electric cars and the solar panels around us. The Impossible Burger, now being served at the Fiddle cafeteria, it's pretty good. Tastes a lot like beef, and it's not. So those are all technological innovations that essentially make it easier for us to do the right thing, right? So it's lowering the cost of doing the right thing. And of course, we're going to have to, no matter what, some measure of adaptation. So building levees, adjusting our crops. It's very clear the poor and poor countries are going to bear the burden of these costs. And that's not great. I wish the rich countries could help. They should help. But I'm not I'm not optimistic about that without some international pressure. But anyways, we'll have to do some sort of adjustment, even in the best of all worlds. I think that's it. I tried to rush this so it's not too long. Yes. Thanks very much. Please discuss below. Cheers.